Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I feel. I called him out. He didn't show, and so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
What's going on, everybody? This is your Uncle Rob here, and you're at Applebee's with us. Thanks for coming by. You may be wondering why Brian isn't kicking the show off. It's because he had a nose job done. It's twice as long as it used to be. And that's causing him to not feel too good, but he is here at the table with us, so everybody give him a round of applause. That's right.
Yay.
There he is.
We're going to have the waitress bring out a cake and sing a song to him.
It's true, yeah. She was nice enough to grind up some mozzarella sticks in the blender for him so he could... Weird because it's his nose. It shouldn't affect anything going in, but yeah. Brian's under the weather, so I'll be... talking a little bit more tonight. Of course, Ashley Truelove's sitting across the table from me. How you doing?
I'm good. While Brian's over there laying down in the booth.
And giving Brian a hand tonight and making this show about 30% better, we got our good buddy Jay Pennell on the show. He's a renowned NASCAR journalist. He's been in the industry for about 500 years. You may have seen his work on Racing America. He's written a book, which, by the way, the second edition of that just came out. And we'll probably talk about that in a little bit here.
He's truly the first guest we've had that is risking their career by appearing on this show. So, thank you.
So is this where I jump out of the cake? It's like get well soon. What's up, y'all?
Jay and I had a really good time at the World Finals this weekend, but I think we're gonna probably talk about some NASCAR stuff first, since that's what everyone's tuning in for. Big championship weekend, of course. Some people are happy, some are not. Nobody in the truck series knows how to drive a race car, and we'll get into it in just a second here. But
that's a fact.
But good Lord. So yeah, season's over. Holy shit, it's done.
It's over.
Yeah, it went a lot quicker than I thought it would, to be honest with you. This was the first year that I haven't traveled the tour pretty regularly, so yeah, I thought it was a good season. We still got racing left, some short track racing here and there, but NASCAR is in the books.
That's a fact. Everyone happy with the Ryan Blaney Championship? Everyone gonna put their little hand up for that?
Yeah, I won $50, so it worked for me.
Oh shit. Well, I'm sure we'll get to the Cup shit in a second here, but I guess we'll start off just on Friday, because that's where everybody else did. The Truck Series, of course, kicking things off in the way that only the Truck Series knows how to. Because that was a little rough from what I gather. I didn't watch it live because, again, Jay and I were at World Finals. Or actually, you weren't there that night. It was just me. I had about 2 hours of sleep going into that. And I was like, you know what? I'll watch the race on DVR tomorrow morning. And then I got home, took a shower, climbed in bed at 12:30, thinking I was slick. And then my phone starts just bzz, 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 just going off consistently. And I was like, oh, God, who died? Is it World War III? What's going on? And no, it wasn't. It was just the Truck Series melting down in the most predictable fashion possible. And so who watched this race?
Yeah, True Love, did you watch this?
Because
I did not watch a single lap of it.
It didn't start till 10 p.m.
Which is a great thing, right?
Perfect.
It was great. After I watched the race, I was like, thank God it was on so late, so nobody watched it. But I'll be honest, I fell asleep off and on up until the host of our incident, and then that kind of woke me up a little bit. And I was
think that woke everybody up from what I gather.
Let me watch this shit show.
Yeah.
Seemed to wake Carson up a good bit. I don't know that I've ever heard a driver apologize for something that wasn't terribly blatant in his car before. That was kind of crazy. I was just, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. At that point,
he knew he fucked up though. He knew.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't think you need to constantly say that over the radio in a championship race. Say it once and then move on. He
gave himself the Cars Tour penalty too, and backed all the way to 400th place, and and then not just in time for Corey Heim to make it worse. Of course, returning the favor and accidentally ramming him up into the fence.
Everyone's doing our air quotes right now, accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. You need to read the text of this to know exactly how sarcastic this all is. But.
Right. Well, I think for somebody who had a lot of people looking at him in a pretty questionable way most of the year, Carson came out of that looking okay, whereas, you know, Corey made himself look pretty bad there, and you know, was penalized for it by NASCAR following. So, you know, I mean, I get it, you're heat of the moment kind of thing, but it just this series is kind of just a trend, right, of poor driving and overly aggressiveness, and you know, it almost looks like an iRacing race out there. So
I
don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, especially when you have GMS leaving and KBM shutting down. I mean, those are your two best teams in the series, and they're going away. So that leaves a pretty big hole in a series that needs some veteran voices.
Yeah, that's right. That's something that I felt kind of got sort of left in the dust of the whole weekend. Of course, a lot of people retiring and leaving, a lot of organizations kind of changing. But, yeah, GMS is done.
Yeah.
And that kind of got lost in the mix of the whole weekend. I know Eric Almirola was retiring, and everyone was really, you know, focused on that. But, you know, losing a...
He's taking home the bacon.
He is. Yeah, the bacon's gone. Smithfield's fucking all set.
Listen, you guys act like the most respected man in the trucks. Matt Crafton is gone. He's still there.
Yeah, Matt.
People will still be bored by him and annoyed by him.
I was watching a Race Hub tonight, and they had their Truck Series wrap up, and Todd Bodine gave a stat that Crafton's last win was like, it was a huge number. It was something surprising. But he's only had one win in the last 6 years in the Truck Series.
And he had a championship in one of those years, too.
What in the world is he doing there, bud? Like, beating up little kids.
I kind of like this arc of Matt Crafton just popping out of the woodwork to whoop some ass once in a while.
Right.
But yeah, Truck Series is done. I don't really care about watching that again, to be honest with you.
It should be just done.
Yeah,
that was their last race ever.
I didn't watch ARCA, which, by the way, I think they had a 17-year-old champion as well. Who won that? It wasn't William Sawalowicz. That was the West champion. Who cares? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't follow ARCA hardly at all either. That's another one.
We have 3 DARFs and an actual journalist, and between us, none of us knows who won that fucking title. So,
well, they got like
it wasn't Frankie.
They got like no, it wasn't Frankie. No.
By the way, Xfinity
like
Series driver Frankie Muniz.
Yeah.
Well,
so now no one's gonna watch ARCA because we were all just watching it for Frankie. So
that's
there's still plenty of ladies for the perverts there to watch. So don't worry. Tony's not moving up the ranks.
Yeah. So. I gotta give my buddy Mambo was in that race, running about 17th as well. So.
okay.
Oh shit! I didn't realize he was in there. Good for him.
Yeah. I think he ran a young motorsports car. But it's tough when you don't drive those things all the time. I think the last one he was in was maybe IRP last year. So.
Yeah, Phoenix is not an easy track to drive anyway.
No.
Just being flat and all that, but yeah, that's cool. Good for him. Xfinity race, also, I really didn't watch any of that, but I knew damn well when Cole Custer won the championship because one of the guys packing the track was honking his horn. What else could that have been for? Yeah, it's True Love. We're turning to you again since.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Motherfuckers, I watched these races. I was there too.
You're on your deathbed, so
Yeah. Well, listen.
Chime
go ahead, start chiming.
I'm trying.
Well, what'd you think, Brian? Was it a good race? I hear that was actually a good one.
Yeah, no, it was a great race. You know, I think Allgaier kind of got ahead of himself and fucked his whole race, I think, even though he didn't really fuck the car bad. I think it was just enough, that early wreck, to kind of just ruin his night. And, you know, as much as I did want to see him win, it was good to see Custer win too. You know, I think he'll be back in Cup in a year or two, I feel like, and good for him. It was just, he was I don't know. I like him. He's a good, weird dude, and he did the Stone Cold thing, so that was sweet.
Yeah.
That's a really good synopsis of Cole Custer. A good, weird dude. I was really happy to hear that. I think a lot of people...
good, weird, whereas Grant Enfinger is, like, weird.
Weird.
I think he needs to bring back the Cole Custer's Cold Custer review, because that was some of the best content.
Yeah,
top tier.
That was good stuff.
But yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Again, Another example of somebody who didn't have the greatest season kind of coming through at the right time. But, you know, if that's how we're going to do it, I don't mind Cole Custer winning. I think all of us kind of picked him as our championship favorite anyway at the beginning of the year. I don't think he got there the way we all thought he would. But I think we all thought it was going to be a 10-win, mud-hole stomping kind of deal with Cole. And it certainly was not that. But I was excited to see that. How about you, True Love? What'd you think?
Yeah. I mean, I was pulling for Allgaier, but, you know, if I can't have Allgaier, I was pulling for Custer because, you know, anyone but John Hunter, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and a lot of clean racing, too, which in contrast to the truck race.
Yeah, it was night and day from the truck race. Like, you had the Champ 4, like, running 1, 2, 3, 4 towards the end of the race. Like, people weren't wrecking each other on purpose.
Yeah. Was there anything else noteworthy in that? I still have not watched that race.
There was that big fire during Sammy Smith's pit stop.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Crazy.
That was ugly. Yeah.
Yeah, the footage from that's just insane. I love how that guy just stood up super calm, like didn't like overreact, walked over to the safety guy, told him to put him out. And then, like, if you watch, like, the full video, he goes back and finishes the stop, and that's just incredible.
Yeah, it was like he just spilled barbecue sauce on his shirt or something. Like, can I get a napkin?
Right?
Fucking insane these guys are. Holy shit.
I think, you know, like, I have a
that.
lot of, like, non-NASCAR friends. I feel like I got more people commenting on, like, that one video than anything else I, like, ever post about racing. So, you know, those guys are badasses.
People
That's a
like
fact.
wrecks and fires.
Yeah. And a man just putting his arms out like Gus Fring in Breaking Bad or some shit.
Oh,
When he's on.
real quick, since you just mentioned badasses, let's go back to the truck race and talk about someone who's a lame ass, and that is Ben Rhodes and his stupid fucking second championship drunk bullshit, which wasn't funny. Like, this time around, it was just very clearly not funny. The whole
Literally, the only reason I didn't want Ben Rhodes to win was because I didn't want to have to sit through another one of those.
Yeah, I gotta give him props for wearing the chain. That was cool.
Yeah.
The chain helped.
But yeah.
When he listed what he drank, too, it wasn't really a lot. You know,
it
you're like,
wasn't.
okay, come on, man.
Half a Miller Lite.
Go shotgun some beers out there and come back and talk to me.
He
right?
weighs 110 pounds. What do you expect? Look at him.
Yeah, he's definitely too much of a grown-ass man now. You get one shot at that in public. You know,
Yeah.
you do that once in the middle of Hooters, they kind of laugh at you. You come back in a couple weeks and do it again, then you get thrown out. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Rhodes is getting thrown out of this Applebee's right now. Him and his title.
It was half a Bud Light that he drank.
I think I've seen True Love like that at the Beaver before.
Yeah. I think I threw myself out.
Yeah, it's one thing to get thrown out of the Beaver. It's another to throw yourself out of the Beaver.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Thirsty Beaver, after Cole Custer won, my good buddy Kyle Armstrong, who I believe he took Cole to the Beaver after his first Cup win, sent him a text trying to arrange an after party at the Thirsty Beaver on Sunday, but I don't believe that ever happened because I feel like I would have heard about it.
Yeah, that would have been rad.
Yeah, I would
He
have
probably
definitely
went to
gone to that.
Saeed's.
Yeah, I think he's still out in Phoenix, right?
Oh, he's still just
Yeah,
drunk
he's probably
in the
out.
desert.
Yeah, at that point, you're just staying the whole night because you have so much media to do, and then you go back and just kind of celebrate with the crew. I mean, when we won with Tyler, we were there pretty much all night. A lot of us had to stay anyway, and I can't remember if Tyler was running the Cup race or not, but he definitely stayed. Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried that Brad Keselowski wasn't going to make it back in time, and Cole was going to have to run the 6-car on Sunday after winning the championship. It's like, man, it seems cruel and unusual.
Yeah,
They would have found Riley Herbst real quick, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But
Rob and I were talking about that, how that was breaking news. You know, Brad having a baby and then putting Cole in the car. And I was telling Rob I was surprised they put Cole in the car and not somebody else, you know, who's not about to fight for a championship that day. So that was really kind of the most surprising thing of that.
Yeah, I was kind of a shock as well, but like I don't know who else they would have gotten on such short notice, you know, because everyone in the Truck Series is, you know, in timeout.
Right.
No one wants to
NASCAR
be
just said, "You're done.
associated.
Go home.
Yeah, everybody
We'll
get
come
the
back till
fuck
next
out of
year."
here. No one knows who's in the ARCA race. They can't call them. You know, Trevor Bayne is he's a Toyota guy now, so that was it.
There were so many Cup drivers firing off on Twitter during that truck race, like how embarrassed they were.
Yeah, that was Tyler Reddick was the first one, and that just kind of opened the floodgates to all the shit talk. But yeah, and for that race to come about 2 hours after the state of the sport speech or whatever about how talking about how the playoffs are not gimmicky, it's actually really good. That was almost a direct quote from the. Not Steve O'Donnell, but whoever the other guy up there was with him. Again, real professional podcast here.
Steve Phelps. Yeah.
Steve Phelps.
Just the president of NASCAR.
Yeah, that was him. Yeah.
That
Well,
guy.
My bad. I was busy sucking in dirt at that point.
That's
yeah.
a fact, Jack.
How apropos for that race to come right after the ultimate defense of things, which I guess we'll get into the state of the sport speech in a second here, because it wasn't all bad, but I think we
One
would.
more thing about the Xfinity race. Did y'all see JJ Yaley's car that they kept talking about how it was fan controlled?
Yes. It didn't work out so well.
It didn't. He wrecked
I feel
himself.
so bad for JJ Yelly sometimes.
Seriously.
I
One of the greatest pavement sprint car drivers of all time,
And just such a nice dude, right? He's such.
just out there in the fan car, stick him on forward, don't bring him back in. Fucking
This guy's putting in his NASCAR Heat 5 setup.
seriously.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe that shit's allowed. I'm here
I
for
was
it, but
shocked.
yeah.
especially
Yeah, I was
of all
shocked.
races, that race where there's actually championship implications on those. But I don't know.
Right? Yeah, do that 5th race of the year.
Yeah, maybe Carson Hocevar was being fan controlled as well. So who knows? I didn't catch that memo if it was. But yeah, of course, the people's champ Ryan Blaney coming home with his first title. I think everyone is relatively happy about that. I was a little salty in the moment, but it is what it is. I don't think anyone's mad to see Ryan Blaney get a title.
Yeah. I mean, he was definitely I felt like he was the best out of the four that day. Like, his pit crew put him
inarguably.
behind every single stop, and he
No
had to
question.
come up through there every single time.
Well, I
so,
mean, the last 4 races of the year, he was top 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So
I think going into the playoffs, he wasn't even really on my radar, right? But I think it just goes to show you how teams are able to adapt and kind of rally during these playoffs, and you get these 3 race seasons, and I think they've got such a good group over there that once they got hitting on something and Ryan got his confidence, and man, it was just kind of on from there. I mean, he almost threw it away, racing with Ross and the 19 right there with Truex, but
yeah,
I was
that was
having my own
fun to
personal
watch.
meltdown.
That's when the whole race came alive, because I feel like before that, it wasn't a great race.
no.
And it really took a really long green flag run, and Ryan almost melting down trying to win the race and not think big picture. So I think in the end it was a good thing. I think Ryan's a deserving champ. He'll represent the sport well. He's the kind of guy who's been grinding at this deal for a long time. NASCAR will call you and say, hey, we've got a 5 a.m., 6 a.m. local news hit. Who wants to do it? And Ryan was usually one of the guys who was always doing that. So he's definitely earned his way up here, not only on the driving side but on the marketing side, and kind of helping grow the sport. And eager to see what he does as the champion.
Yeah, seriously. Like I said, I wanted to see Larson win, but I don't know. I think Ryan Blaney makes for better television, so I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was one of 3 people to vote for Christopher Bell in True Love's poll. So,
Yeah.
hey.
Did you have money on him?
No, I'll be honest. I mean, I just feel like Adam Stevens has that experience, and I think that when Christopher hits on things, he can really do it. And I think he was really in contention to do it until a brake rotor exploded.
Yeah, that was bad.
I just feel like that's kind of how their whole playoffs has gone. Is Jack's the tire hit the Jack at Darlington, and that dropped the car. Just different things on pit road. So
kind of across the board for all the Toyotas, or the Gibbs cars anyway.
They used to be one of the best pit crews in up and down pit road, and they still are. But I think we're seeing just more mistakes out of that crew than I think we're used to.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't honestly remember much else about that race. I literally watched the back half of that in a Home Goods parking lot in Huntersville,
Nice.
North Carolina.
I mean, of all three races, it was definitely the most quiet. Obviously the battle for the win in the championship was the most exciting part. And I guess we got to talk about Steve Letart's comments today on his betting podcast.
Yeah.
As a former crew chief, he said he would have told Ross to let the championship guys pass him. Fuck that. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
I don't believe that for a second, first of all.
I don't believe if he was on the box he'd say that either. I've interviewed him as a crew chief. That's not true.
Yeah, can you imagine if Dale Jr. was leading a race? Is he going to tell Dale to pull to the side and let whoever go through? I do not fucking think so.
Here's where we're at, though. I mean, yeah, we did have the precedent of this is the first time in 10 years of this format we had a non-championship guy win the race. I wouldn't have given a fuck if it was Ross or somebody else. I think it's good to have that moment. I think if the only guys on the track that matter are the four that are in the championship, then just do your own fucking separate race for them. What the fuck do you have 36 more or 32 other guys on the track for?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any fucking sense to have that attitude. And, I think there's probably been some official manipulation in the past. I think it's hard to deny that Blaney probably would have won the race last year, but I'm sure, Penske didn't want that, or officials or whoever. And Ross was the guy to say fuck that, and doesn't give a fuck what anybody thought. He raced him clean. Don't get me wrong. As a Ross fan, I was nervous as fuck because, dude, it took you this long to get back on track after fucking up at Darlington. Do not fuck this up.
Just knocked one out of the park for everybody for entertainment.
Thankfully he didn't. Thankfully nothing bad happened. Blaney couldn't pull it off as hard as he tried, and Ross did his job as a driver. So I think it was all good to see. But to hear that type of shit from someone who has that sort of role in the sport right now, that's embarrassing, and he should be embarrassed to say that publicly.
Yeah, because I think it's a lie. He wouldn't say it. If he was a crew chief, he would not think the same way. I think what that is somebody who's now in the TV booth and is trying to create content in the off season, right? Look, Ross in that Ross has never backed down from anything, right? And ever since I've known him racing, starting parks in the Xfinity series, Ross has always been super tough. I'm pretty sure, I was at Mid-Ohio one time when Joey Gase punched him, right? Joey Gase is the nicest guy in the world, right? But if you piss off Joey Gase, you're probably doing something right. You're probably being a dick on the track, but that's just how Ross is. And for anybody to expect him to not be in the title hunt but not try and be part of the story, that they obviously just don't know Ross or the Trackhouse team, because look, they're here for that race. Still pays money, it still gets sent. You also have to remember this is it's all about the Final Four, but those other guys who are in the playoffs are contending for playoff positions, right? So they can still finish 5th through 16th, right?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. There's a lot, and everybody loves trophies, bud. And those sponsors love taking pictures in Victory Lane. And I never expected one bit for him to back down. I expected Blaney to have a little bit of a cooler head and see the bigger picture there. But no, Ross and I mean, nobody had a problem with Martin Truex Jr. racing up there pretty hard. So, I think that one took care of itself. But I was not surprised at all that Ross was up there contending and racing hard for the win. And I have no problems with that. I think Letart's out to lunch on that one.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Yeah. But yeah, by the way, Brian, congrats. Ross Chastain getting to smash a watermelon by himself in a corner over in Phoenix while everyone fawned over Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
Also,
The best part of Ross winning was they didn't show his burnout. They didn't show him climbing out of the car. They didn't show him smashing that stupid-ass watermelon. They didn't even interview him until after Blaney, Larson.
It's probably Claire B. Lang at like 11 p.m., right?
Yeah. Ross is already in victory lane eating like watermelon crumbs at that point. It's dark.
I did see a cool stat that Harvick's first race, the 24 was on the pole, and the one of Steve Park won the race. And then this one, William Byron was on the pole in the 24, and the one car won the race with Ross Chastain. So, NASCAR's got this old like numerology thing that's you just can never figure out. But
that's crazy. I
that's
didn't hear that. But yeah, Kevin Harvick done. That's crazy, man. I never thought we all knew it was coming. But to actually see him sitting down there on pit road with everybody and his whole team, and Ryan Preece just being right up there up front with the beer, I was proud of him for that. Just waiting to get his cold drink in after running wherever the fuck he did. I think he had a pretty good day, right? Probably top 15, something like that.
No clue.
Him and Chase Briscoe got into it at one point coming through the dog leg. Obviously not intentional, but I remember those two getting caught up together and sliding backwards at some point.
Well, Ryan Preece is up in the front there without a care in the world with that big old bush in his hand. Saying goodbye to Kevin. Big weekend of retirements over at Stewart Haas. Eric Almirola taking the check with him. And I guess Noah Gragson is apparently supposed to be going to that ride. I don't think that's been announced officially, but that seems to be the prevailing theory. And then, who else? Carson Hocevar's Goodwill retired, and GMS. That's pretty much it, right?
yeah. Now, I think seeing Harvick on pit road, him climbing out of the car, this is the first season finale that I haven't been to in quite a while. COVID, obviously, that year I didn't get to go. But before that, I really honestly can't remember the last time I wasn't at the season finale. And, there's that whole weekend has such a cool feel of like, it's like the last day of school. You're seeing your buddies for the last time for a couple months and everything like that. But to see some of these special moments, like I remember, Jeff Gordon's last race and Dale Jr.'s last race and, Tony Stewart, Mark Martin, those guys, to not be there for that was pretty, that was probably the toughest pill to swallow all weekend. Kevin was probably the last driver that I rooted for before I got into the business and to the industry, and to get to know Kevin over the years has been really cool. We worked pretty close together on some of the RCR 50 stuff, and I got to drive around with him in a 69 Camaro, just kind of shooting the shit one day at the Woodward Dream Crew. So it'll be crazy not to see him in the race car, but he'll be around the racetrack, and that's gonna be great to see. I think he's got an important role in the industry moving forward as a guy who's no longer driving cars, but constantly advocating for the sport and the drivers.
Oh, 100%. Also fielding a car of his own in the Cars Tour. I believe, and also just the other super late model races. Ryan Preece, in fact, running his late model down at the Snowball Derby this year, so that'll be fun to watch.
On Racing America, you can watch that on Racing America.
RacingAmerica.com or
solid
.tv.
plug right there. Yeah.
Until I fucked the website up. Yeah, it was a great one.
Well, you can go to RacingAmerica.com. That'll definitely get you to RacingAmerica.tv.
So we were both right. That's great.
They're not paying me for that plug.
No. But one sad note I do want to shine a light on before we move on from the NASCAR stuff here, or at least from Phoenix anyway. Leo Jackson passed away over the weekend. Of course, he was the owner of the world-famous Skull Bandit, driven by Harry Gant. Robert Presley also drove for him, a couple other guys too, but just a long-time owner. Speaking of Trackhouse, who of course won the race in Phoenix on Sunday, he stopped by their shop. They only have 2 cars on display there for you to look at. One of them is the famous Hail Melon car that Ross tried to destroy but couldn't at Martinsville last year. And they've got the Mr. September car parked out front in the lobby, or at least last time I went out there they did. And that's a hell of a sight to see. But R.I.P. Leo.
Yeah, that's such a cool car. The first Cup race I ever went to was 1991 in Dover, and that was one of Harry Gant's Mr. September runs. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely thoughts go out to his family and all the fans.
Yeah, 90 years old is a pretty good run, gotta say.
Yep, it's a solid deal.
True Love, have you got to see that car before? It's been around a lot lately.
Not in person at Trackhouse.
Well, next time you come to Charlotte, we all end up there at the Thirsty Beaver. We'll take a little ride over after the bar and let ourselves in and
Right.
sitting there and honk the horn.
I'm pretty sure they were supposed to drive that at Darlington one year, and they were like, we can't show this on television like at all. Yeah. And so there was like a big to do, and they didn't cancel it until like last minute as cars were like rolling off the grid and everything like that. So I know it was there one year, and it was supposed to be showed off and driven around. I'm pretty sure by Justin Marks, and I have a feeling TV stepped in and said, "Oh, wait, that has tobacco all over it.
That's what happened.
You can't do that."
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Also, shout out to Ty Gibbs for winning Rookie of the Year when he had no competition.
That's right, yeah. Noah kind of took himself out of that one.
After Noah canceled himself, it was just Ty Gibbs all alone.
Joining the list of Kevin Conway and Daniel Hemrick.
Yeah, other drivers with prominent tails, just like Ty Gibbs. But none as precious as Ty's, so... But yeah, Ty Gibbs starting to show a little bit of promise there. We all knew he would. He's always been good, even though he pissed us all off pretty good in the Xfinity Series and prior to that. But yeah, I think he's starting to come around here, and I definitely expect him to turn it around a little bit more next year and kind of show up the way I think everyone kind of thought he might have. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think he was probably one of the better Gibbs cars, aside from Christopher Bell, the last 10 races, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably took him a little while to get accustomed to run the Cup side full time, and you know, he is a guy who doesn't talk a whole lot. You go interview him, and it's one word, two word answers. You know, I think when he got eliminated from the playoffs in Daytona, we were there, and Bob Parkus asked him, you know, like, you're not in the playoffs, like, how's it feel? And he goes, it sucks, Bob. You trying to like rub it in, like, you know, and like he's just so short and like, you know, like he doesn't say a whole lot, but when he does, it's kind of pointed, and you can tell real quick whether he's in a good mood or a bad mood.
Or it's like a Dayspring fucking Christian Christmas card.
Right. I think he saves that for TV. Right.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I think he'll be. I don't think he'll have a sophomore slump. I think he'll be really good.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
I did hear today that I guess Dale Jr. said on his podcast that Ty Dillon's going to the 16 car at Colleague.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How about
Ty
that?
Dillon just finding money somewhere.
Yeah, he must have, like, hit on a scratch-off ticket or something. See that shit come.
He asked Pop for an advance in his allowance.
I'll tell you.
It's amazing. Ty Dillon is probably older than me at this point, and he still feels like a child to me.
Ty is just like a nice dude too, but God, I don't know.
He's the only Dillon we like around there.
Nothing in that Spire car at all, you know.
Yeah, I don't understand that move at all, but hey, you know, I'm not the one making the decisions, so it's up to them.
I mean, let's just say Colleague's making a bunch of interesting moves, not always ones that I would say are good ones, but I mean, look at that Colleague, like, just look at him, and that should tell you why some of these decisions get made.
Well, we can't talk
Isn't he
about.
from Ohio too?
Yeah,
Yeah, he is. He
crawled
totally
out of
is.
the dust. Yeah,
And he still has his high school fucking quarterback uniform in his office. So I don't know what
That's
that
a
tells you
fact.
about him. But.
Every man in Ohio has that fucker in a glass case in their living room,
Yeah.
Uncle Rico style.
Hey, I'm not from Ohio, so I don't take any
You
responsibility.
just immigrated there because it made sense to you.
Yep. Basically.
Jesus. I'm just kidding, Brad. I'm sorry. I know you're in a lot of pain right now. Thanks for being here at Applebee's with us. Before we move into the short track world, and there wasn't a ton that I'm aware of that went on, because I know I was at the World Finals with Jay and a bunch of other folks, but I do want to touch on that state of the sport speech that I completely butchered a little bit earlier. A couple of Steves were up on stage in Phoenix talking about the state of NASCAR. some things I agree with, some things I don't. But I did kind of want to open it up to you guys as fans, because again, you know, with the exception of Jay, of course, three of us, we have no industry ties. We don't do shit. We just do this podcast. We hang out. We drink beers. We watch racing. And I was curious what y'all's opinion on the state of the sport is. Like, how do you feel after watching this 75th anniversary season? What's good? What's bad? All that kind of shit.
It's like a very broad topic. Okay, so I didn't watch the whole thing because I pulled it up. It was like 45 minutes. I'm like, I know, I'm not gonna listen to this for 45 minutes. So I just read a nice little article about it instead. But I mean, I was content as a fan at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the points that I saw in that article, they said they had 50% more sellouts at races this year than last year.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you knock grandstands down, that'll happen. But
yeah, but they haven't done that in, the last year.
No, they haven't. Yeah.
I mean, as a fan, I dipped out of NASCAR. My first go around, I dipped out not too long after Dale died. So I came back in 2010, and it's only been an upward trajectory in the last decade or so. There's some of the stuff that I don't necessarily love, like some of the next-gen car issues and moving the numbers and all that shit. A lot of it kind of goes away when the cars are on the track.
For sure.
And yeah, I think overall, I mean, I've actually gotten a handful of friends into racing the last few years, which I never really thought would happen. I know for all the ratings talk and all the other bullshit, like, that's kind of not up to us as fans. I think for us, just going to the track and having a good time is all that matters. And I think the sport's healthier than it's been in a long time. And, hopefully a couple more improvements happen over the next couple of years. But I'm pretty happy with where everything's at right now.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta say, my big problem, of course, is going to be the playoff system. I don't think it works. I don't like it. And this is coming from a traditionalist standpoint. If you're listening to this and you disagree with me, that's fine. Like, I'm not trying to say that if you enjoy it, there's anything wrong with that. Because it is entertaining, and you like what you like. It's fine. But just coming from my perspective, I don't think it's a great way to settle a championship. But I think that's just kind of going to be the deal moving forward. I don't think NASCAR is going to backtrack from that anytime soon. Unless the ratings really tank, which, again, they're up from where they were several years ago. So even though they're down from last year, they're still up, generally speaking. So there's no reason why they would do that. My only real problem, honestly, is with the car and the short track and road racing package they have. It just seems like they kind of took the appearance of what people want the race car to look like, kind of squared off and that sort of thing. Less arrow up top, and just moved it all in the bottom where you can't see it. And they're having a hard time fixing that, which that is one thing I like to hear out of the speech that or the state of the sport that NASCAR put out there, was the fact that they are going to be looking at shifting at short tracks and working on that arrow further. So I think that's good, because that is my big issue right now, is because to me the short track shit in particular is the heart and soul of the sport. And if you don't fix that, then you're going to lose a lot of the sort of grassroots support that they're finally starting to gain back, because we're in this unique position where short track racing is so big right now, where it's coming to a point where at least people can watch it and actually dig into it, whereas before it was a little bit mystical and tough to get into. And when the short track product in NASCAR doesn't match up with, say, the Cars Tour or whatever else, I think that's problematic, which is pretty obvious to say, I guess. But other than that, I feel pretty good about it. It's fun to talk about. Again, like you, Brian, I have a lot of friends that are tuning in a little bit more than they used to, and that's always fun. So, and I've had a good time at the racetrack too. It's still the most affordable ticket in sports. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I think from my side of being in this industry a lot and from different facets, I think some of the things that really stood out to me, first off, Rob, I think you're spot on about the short track stuff. I feel like short track racing right now is better than it's been in a very, very long time. I think it's more popular than it's been in a long time. I think it's more accessible than it's been in a long time, thanks to Racing America and Flow and all these different outlets and people covering it, and the NASCAR folks that have gotten involved in the Cars Tour, which is great to see. There's still Cup guys who are going down and running the Snowball Derby, which is awesome. But looking at the state of the sport specifically, the things that really stood out to me were the fact that they have built an electric car at the NASCAR R&D Center. That is something that is really, really interesting to me. I feel like you have a series, or quite frankly, a few series that are in dire need of a shakeup, of a kind of deep dive into what the future of this series looks like, being, specifically the ARCA series and the Truck series. Steve Phelps said he was going to Japan to talk about hydrogen power. Like,
I'm fucking stoked about that, by the way.
Right, this is stuff that, I'm sure, like, if you brought up hydrogen power to Bill France Sr., he'd be like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? You get out of here. I mean, like, that's, right? That'd just be nuts, right? But here we are in the day and age where that's a real conversation that's being had by, top executives within the sport. I was in Chicago for the Chicago Street Race this year, and I saw more people who had no idea about NASCAR or had never been around, NASCAR, just totally enthralled by everything. Yeah. And I think the drivers enjoyed that too, because, like, Chase Elliott was walking down the street of Chicago before, Saturday stuff, and nobody knew who the hell he was. He was just some other dude walking down the street of Chicago, right? There wasn't a kid with a shopping
cart full of die-cast sitting down.
No, there's something to that, and so I think I think the sport's definitely in a good spot. There are things. I'm not a huge fan of this race car because I feel like it takes a lot of the creativity and ingenuity and engineering out of the hands of the race teams, which Absolutely. Is what this sport was built on.
And it hasn't saved any money either.
No, not at all. not at all.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, it's just, if you look at who the suppliers are and who owns those suppliers, it's made a lot of money for a lot of people, right? So, yep. It's one of those things where I don't know. I saw. I didn't watch the state of the sport. I've just read it, the transcript and everything. And I will say this is something I star every single year because this is such a crucial speech in the sport of NASCAR, right? And in NASCAR history, this stuff is all. I've gone back and used a lot of these state of the sport addresses, for research in my book and things like that. But I saw somebody post something the other day that said, "I'm just glad there's two people up there who are having a legitimate conversation with good ideas, good foresight, and they don't look like they're about to fall off the stage pouring down sweat." So I think the leadership of NASCAR is in a good spot. I think there's a lot of things that we can sit here and bitch and moan about, and but I feel like we have it pretty good, and it's just going forward. It's just better.
We're not in the Brian France era anymore, and I think that even though the two Steves have their issues, I mean, they're doing a whole lot better job than Brian ever did. So
yeah, I mean, I can tell you, I maybe saw Brian France at the racetrack if it was championship weekend or Daytona 500 weekend. You see Steve Phelps and Steve O'Donnell at the racetrack walking up and down pit road, up and down the grid, in the garage. You see them around a lot, and I think that makes a difference. The other thing that really, I think the other thing that really stood out for me in the state of the sport, which I feel like they danced around a lot about, was just the negotiations going on with the teams. This is a very crucial time behind the scenes for the sport. There's TV negotiations going on. There's negotiations about whether the charters are going to remain. The team owners, they want the charters to be a permanent thing, but they expire at the end of 2024, and NASCAR wants them, from my understanding, they want them to go away or to kind of evolve. So I think there's a lot of interesting conversations going on outside of the racetrack right now that are kind of shaping the sport and the future of the sport, and it's a really exciting time to kind of see what's going on.
So you're saying BJ made his $40 million just in the nick of time, maybe?
Yes.
if they do expire.
To be 100% honest, and I don't know any of the details of that. You know, like obviously I've got a relationship with BJ, Matt, and Joe Falk over there, but I don't get involved in a lot of those conversations or pry or ask or anything. But that was probably the deal of the century, right? I mean, if the charters go away next year, they just made $40 million each, and right. Matt's gonna go sports car racing, and BJ is gonna sit there, play video games, and be dressed all in black, right? Like, And,
what's the biggest
on tour?
Yeah, stainless steel skull you can buy to hang from a chain?
Right? He's gonna be driving around like Mad Max, right? With just like the system bumping, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out going. I think that's going to be the biggest topic of conversation next season. Are these negotiations between the teams and NASCAR? Because everybody likes to say they're hunky-dory and they're working together closer than they ever have. Yeah. But I can tell you right now, there's some tense moments happening and some very pointed conversations that I feel like have happened and are going to happen moving forward.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. Two things I do want to shine a line on before we move on from. Another positive thing for me is the fact that I can just watch the Xfinity series on the CW after my reruns of fucking One Tree Hill or whatever is happening. That's exciting. I think people kind of
have the WWE frog come out. WWE.
I hope so. Hope they bring him back.
That throwback weekend. There you go.
What was that fucking gopher that DW had? Digger. That was his name.
Digger. Yeah.
Yeah. The frog is the new one. But yeah, that's a big deal, and I think that kind of got lost in the mix of just the season kind of playing out. And also, I really, really appreciated the point being made when the question was asked about the sort of dynamic between the drivers who made the championship there's no drama, there's nothing to really write about, blah, blah, blah. I really appreciated NASCAR putting their foot down and saying this is a sport first and foremost, and I think a lot of people needed to hear that, myself included.
I think a lot of media folk need to hear that too. Yeah.
And I think that was a nice way to set the tone. So again, you're never gonna agree with 100% with what a corporation's saying, but as a fan anyway. But I really appreciated them saying that, and I'm glad they sort of it probably didn't put it to bed, but I like to hear that come from the very, very top of the organization. So
there was one other thing that happened this weekend that stood out for me, and I'm trying to think of the name of it, but there was the organization that one of the Trump guys has that they filed a lawsuit against NASCAR for racial discrimination against the Drive for Diversity program.
Oh, Stephen Miller, that bald Nazi fuck.
Yes. So, in case anybody was wondering, NASCAR may be racist against white people. That is their claim.
White males.
White males.
What an incredible turn of events.
Right, that's it. America First. That's what it's called, yes. I mean, Rob, thanks for shouting out my book earlier when you're introducing me, but that was one of the chapters I updated the most, was the first African-American winner. Because at the time, the first edition came out, Bubba had just won 1 or 2 truck races. Right. By this time he's been, Donald Trump told him to shut up and apologize. So there's been a lot of crazy things that have happened, right? And to sit here in 2023 and this is a conversation that we're having is just wild to me. But I think Phelps obviously handled it very well.
He did. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch as well. You don't get to see the media kind of get at the top brass all too often. So that was, I would say, if you got 45 minutes, just put your headphones on. Just let it play in the background. It's certainly worth a listen because, like Jay said, you're going to be hearing that referenced for a while. So.
Yeah.
Also, kind of in the same. Thing. Also, in the same vein, I always enjoy. Jeff Gluck's poll wrap up at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Just because, that's kind of a fan-based vote on what the top 5 favorite races were, and then to see the bottom 5 races too.
Yeah. But apparently this last poll is a little bit skewed because he has a bet with Jordan Bianchi. One of them gets to dress the other one for Daytona next year, and I'm pretty sure Jeff Gluck lost.
I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, so Jeff Gluck's gonna roll up looking like an extra from Big Lebowski, I'm pretty sure. So.
Feel like that's a good thing. I was gonna say like maybe like an extra Miami Vice.
Yeah.
I always give Jordan some shit about his shoes.
Yeah, he's gonna have some fancy shoes on, the two of them. It's gonna be great.
See, like that's why I give him shit, because like I saw him one day and he just had on some like normal old shoes on. I was like, Jordan, come on, man. Like what now? Like, from here on out, I'm giving you shit about your shoes.
That's awesome. Oh well, speaking of drama in the with sanctioning bodies and all that, Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson have announced that the High Limit Series has bought the All-Stars and have sort of released some plans. I guess we're moving into this short track septic tank here a little bit. There's not a whole lot to talk about other than just me getting shit-faced at the racetrack over the weekend. But that was a big piece of news, and I think everyone from the racing world kind of has their eye on that. Of course, the All-Star Circuit of Champions being shuttered for at least 2024. It sounds like they might keep that a thing in the future. But they have the rights to it, but it's certainly not running next year. The All-Stars are expanding to a national schedule. They're also going to make sure the Ohio Sprint Speed Week remains a thing, which is a cool deal. But it sounds like they are absolutely going head-to-head with the World of Outlaws. So that's going to be something interesting to watch. They haven't really announced a whole lot of races yet, other than there are some companion weekends with Cup races, Texas Motor Speedway being one of them. And there's also a companion weekend in Kansas. I forget.
Oh, that's a good one. I've been to that track out in Kansas.
Wheatland, right?
Yeah. No, I don't remember the name of it. I'll be honest with you, I was sitting at Hooters drinking beer, and this guy was like, "You here for the race?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "NASCAR race?" He's like, "No, World Outlaws race." And I was like, "I'm gonna need you to tell me where that is right now."
Yeah.
Because you completely changed my plans for the night. And I got an Uber to this random dirt track. I can't remember what the name was, but it was great. They put on good racing.
Yeah, but that's a companion event that's happening alongside the Cup season. So it sounds like there's going to be some teaming up with NASCAR, at least in a sort of spiritual sense, as well as their big World Finals type event happening down at the Texas Motor Speedway dirt track at the end of the year. I want to say it's the same weekend or the weekend before the World Finals in Charlotte. World of Outlaws has responded by saying they're going to have a few events that have $100,000 payouts throughout the year. I assume Knoxville is going to be one of them, and who knows what the other ones will be. But big shakeup coming in the sprint car world here. Of course, and I guess this will sort of lead into our experience at the dirt track over the weekend in Charlotte, but getting to see Brad Sweet's fifth and final Outlaw Championship get wrapped up over the weekend was definitely a sight to behold. Kind of weird to kind of put it in those terms, and definitely, I wouldn't say it cast a pall per se, but everyone was definitely thinking about that as he's raising the trophy above his head. Full well knowing he was about to try and blow the fucking industry up. So,
I mean, that's it. Like, take their trophy, dominate their last race, take their trophy, and then go home and start your own. Like,
go walk. Go walk to the garage and take as many teams of the U as you can.
Yep.
So, it sounds like Casey Kane is going to remain an outlaw, is kind of what they alluded to. But again, this news is going to roll out over the winter. Flo doesn't have a whole lot of dirt racing shit to talk about for the next few weeks. So
a bunch of different drivers today were like making their announcements. I saw Gravel's going to stick with the Outlaws.
That's no surprise. Yeah.
I know Rico was like putting the vote out to his fans as to what he should do. So yeah,
I'm going wherever Casey's going.
Yeah. I tried to get a photo of him, True Love, but it just didn't happen. So.
God damn it.
But I guess there's no better segue than that. Both Jay and I were at the World Finals in Charlotte last weekend. I think you were only there Saturday. You didn't make it there on Thursday,
I only came
right?
out Saturday. Yeah, I had other things going on. I'm lucky enough to live here in Charlotte, so I'm only about 15 minutes from Charlotte Motor Speedway, the dirt track, but yeah, I had other shit going on this other days.
I didn't make it till Friday. Of course, a different format this year at the World Finals. Of course, Super Dirt Car Series was down there along with the World of Outlaw late models and the 410s. And they ran all three divisions, heats and features on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, and then had a big hot lap qualifying session on Wednesday night. if that makes any sense, which I'm still kind of scratching my head about it. Like, I know why they did it, but a lot of people were a little bit nervous about sending sprint cars out on a completely green racetrack, and that completely made itself evident on Thursday because Zeb Wise just about killed himself first thing out.
Yeah, that was wild.
I don't know if you guys have seen this wreck, but I forget who he came down on or who came up on him, but made contact with a car, went cage first up into the fence in the front stretch, and his throttle hung. He says he didn't get knocked out, but it sure as hell looked like it did, and his car just kind of spun in a circle and ran down the racetrack with the throttle completely pressed to the floor for, I don't know, a good 30 seconds. It looked terrible. Absolutely terrible. Fortunately, I wasn't there to see that in person. But he ended up being okay. They interviewed him over by the SRI Pavilion a little bit later, where I spent a lot of time drinking their Miller Lights later in the week. And then they got that cleaned up, and about 15 seconds later, Austin McCarroll went for a bad ride and for almost the same spot. So not a good idea to run sprint cars on a track that hasn't been buzzed at all, but that's what they did. And, yeah, that was definitely kind of put a skeptical tone over the whole weekend, and a lot of people were bitching, which there's nobody who loves to bitch about the state of things in dirt racing fans. So
they'll bitch about they'll bitch lap after lap after lap because the track's changed.
That's a fact.
it changed the way they didn't expect it to, so they're gonna bitch about it.
It's all rubbered up. But Thursday night was pretty good. David Gravel ended up winning the 410 feature. Mike Marlar in his first time out in the Skyline 157, picking up a win. That's typically what he does. He's a night one kind of guy. Loves winning those events. But I showed up on Friday. I woke up at 2 in the morning. My wife and I did to get on a bus to go to Logan Airport to catch our like 5 a.m. flight or whatever. Don't live in Worcester, Massachusetts. Just don't do it. It's fucking terrible to get anywhere. Unless you just like being in Worcester, this is not the place for you. No, it's called the Logan Express. It's an airport shuttle that you drive to, you park your car, they take you to the airport. It's convenient to a point, but good lord, it was awful. Got to Charlotte about 8, decided not to take a nap. Decided to hit some race shops with my brother-in-law, which was really fun. Went and saw Roush, which they've really cleaned that place up. I mean, the last time I was out there, they've done
a good job over there.
It's a killer museum and shop. I definitely recommend going there. Stop by Stuart Haas as well. Which, by the way, folks, they have both of the Talladega Nights throwback cars sitting up in the lobby. They got Priest's Wonder Bread car and Chase Briscoe's Old Spice one sitting up front. They also got a Haas Formula One car sitting behind the glass, which is kind of cool. Even if you don't like Formula One, it's pretty crazy to see those machines in person.
So, fun fact, most of their race engineers for the Haas F1 team are based in that shop.
Really?
Yes.
I know that they have the big Formula One shop like across the way that's like gated off.
Yeah. So, like, it's kind of split between the two. Yeah. Or, like, I'll say on that campus. It's on that campus.
Yeah. But definitely cool to see a Formula One car in person. Again, even if the sport is as boring as it could be, still amazing technology, and you see one of those things with your own two eyes. It's pretty remarkable. And, of course, seeing Kurt Busch's Daytona 500 win car there is always awesome, with the grass still stuck to the hood.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that happened. Again, no nap whatsoever. Just decided to go straight into it and start drinking beers. Land at Charlotte dirt track about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Meet up with my good buddy James Honeycutt up on the hill in turn 4. Great dude. He was chilling up there with one of the Dirt Nerds guys, which, by the way, apparently they've listened to our podcast, which that's incredible to me.
I'm sorry.
I did apologize to him. He said it was okay.
Okay. Good.
By the way, if you want to get some information on dirt track racing, Dirt Nerds is a good show, so I would recommend checking them out. But yeah, we stood up there, I had a beer, and I got to watch the first giant flip of Friday. Who was it? It wasn't Spencer Baston. His name is escaping me right now, but this dude flipped about 13 times, cleared the top of the fence line. Didn't go into the crowd, obviously, but it was really bad.
What the fuck is going on there this weekend?
And everyone
sometimes when those things dig in, man, they just go.
Yeah. And it was rough to watch, but then I met up with Kyle Armstrong shortly after that as the big blocks were rolling out on track, or I think it was the late models. I can't remember what happened. Gave me my wristband for the little SRI Performance Hospitality booth, which, by the way, if you ever have a chance to experience that, I don't know how the fuck you earn one of those other than knowing Kyle. But apparently everyone in Charlotte tries to know Kyle during that time, so if you called him, please just send him a message and let him get back to you. That poor dude's phone was white hot by the time the weekend was over.
That's true.
But, yeah, just a good night of racing, good night of hanging out. At one point, I get a text from Kyle, one of the rare moments where my phone worked the whole weekend. He's like, I'm over here at LaJoy's place, gambling with Jerry Nadeau. Come on down. And I said, okay. So I walked down to that tent, to the LaJoy of seating tent, and sat with Jerry Nadeau. And I forget who else was in there. Kenny Francis was in there.
Kenny Francis was in there on Saturday, yeah.
He was there on Friday as well. And then, Jerry Nadeau was just doing little spot bets for all the late model races, so that was kind of cool.
They were playing like goldfish or something?
No. They could have been, but that might have been earlier.
Betting. Yeah.
But it was a good night hanging out up in there. Thanks to Randy LaJoy for the hospitality. He yelled at me for standing in the way at one point, so that was kind of funny.
Yeah, he did that to us on Saturday, too.
Yes,
Down there,
2 nights in a row. Maybe he heard the podcast, too, but talking shit about his son.
He knows his son's terrible.
But yeah, it was a cold night. It was dusty as fuck, as Charlotte is known for. Incredible 410 race though, between Brent Marks, Tyler Courtney, and I was about to say Zeb Wise, but that's not who it was. Justin Peck in the 13, just trading sliders for most of the feature. Brent Marks ended up getting the best of that one, and of course RTJ picking up a big win in the late models. He whooped ass all weekend. So a little bit of redemption to see that happen live and in person. Also, the Ruben, the World of Outlaws late model announcer, making sure to announce how legitimate and real that the World of Outlaws points championship was. No gimmicks. Every turn. We got a real legitimate championship here, folks. Won by Bobby Pierce. And it's every 30 seconds. Yeah.
That was super accurate right there.
Yeah. I've been working on that, but
yeah.
But also got to meet up with Andy Newsom, friend of the program. We were going to try and get him on here, but he was planning on being in Sonoya. Unfortunately, I got rained out, so I guess we probably could have got him. But of course, as you do when you make big plans to get shit-faced with somebody, they tend to fall through. I was so fucking exhausted by the end of the night. I think I drank 3 or 4 NOS energy drinks trying to stay on top and just gave myself a migraine. So I bailed. He did offer to get me into some sort of whatever late model series he covers. They were having their banquet at the Speedway Club the next morning.
Oh yeah.
He offered to get me in, and I couldn't do it. I was so
If you ever get the chance, the prime rib at the Speedway Club is the best I've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah,
See, and I knew just hanging out with Andy is enough because that guy's the best. But I knew I would regret not going and having the food. But
I just really want to know what Andy wore to the banquet.
He told me.
I really want to know.
I just want to know if he washed his face.
Well, I got a story for you.
He should have just showed up with dirt all over him.
Well,
right?
his sales pitch to me was like the year prior he did the same thing, and he rolled up in there just like he walked out of the track. He said he had his rainbow Crocs on. He was completely covered in dirt, and someone pulled him and says, like, "You're the dirtiest man that's ever been inside this room."
Yeah, that's true.
As he's shooting this fucking banquet, you know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Andy will come on the show at some point. And you'll understand why he is the best fucking dude on earth. But
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to drink a beer with him at all, but still got to hang out with him a lot. And I guess we'll get into that in a second here. But yeah, Friday night was fun. I had a headache, got home, and then was really proud of myself for, being responsible. Went home, took a shower, climbed into the guest bed next to my wife, and then my phone starts just going off for the fucking truck race and all that. So I sat on Twitter for another 2 hours with a migraine trying to figure out what was going on. And then eventually fell asleep. Woke up to the sound of a child screaming the next morning. That was cool. They had Coco Melon going on the little Bluetooth speaker. It's exactly what you want to hear, is old McDonald when you're still shit-faced. And to make it up to me, the family took me over to the Concord Mills where I got to check out the Lionel outlet, that's a vibe, folks.
Oh, that's, man.
Brand new
You wanna-
diecast and model trains. So
Go ahead and take a mortgage out if you want to buy a diecast.
seriously, bro.
Do they provide the shopping carts there?
No, they don't. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law did leave me with a big this little push car thing that they had picked up for the kid, but he was running around, so I ended up hungover trying to drive this fucking shopping cart through the middle of Lionel and just knock it into shit, and it was a bad deal. So I got the hell out of there and ended up.
You took the kid to Dave and Buster's.
No, that was just me. So
Should take him to Twin Peaks.
is there a Twin Peaks over there?
Yes, sir.
Fuck.
Tell him I sent you.
We were sitting up in the bar at the same damn time. I should have just texted you. But yeah, anyway, I found myself finally the family links back up. The ladies go off to the Adidas store. My brother-in-law just fucking disappears, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to Dave & Buster's.
Your
Fuck it.
brother-in-law went to Twin Peaks. That's where he
He took off without me. He'd had enough. But, which, by the way, Tommy was with me the whole weekend too. Appreciate him getting a chance to come out. Last year he was unable to. It was his son's birthday around the same time, but this year it worked out. They had the party the weekend before, so it was cool to expose him to all that stuff and bring Tommy out there to have a good time. So if you're listening, Tommy, it was awesome to have you out there. He bought him a Rico Abreu shirt, so he's now part of the family.
Yeah.
But anyway, after having a really big, tall beer at Dave & Buster's, I made my way over to the racetrack, and pretty much the same deal. Got there in time for the heats. They rolled right into heats yet again. No big accidents this time, but I'd say the track was probably twice as dusty as it was on Friday. It was brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, you can just feel like when a restart would happen, just everything that was going into your nose and into your lungs. So maybe it's a good thing you didn't come, Brian, if you're still here.
Right.
That would feel.
Brian would have had to put his surgery off for like 2 months.
Seriously. Well, yeah, it was a good
cold
night.
too, wasn't it?
It wasn't as cold on Saturday.
No, it
night.
wasn't too bad.
Wasn't as cold
We
on
got
Saturday.
because here in North Carolina we got like every freaking season in the day, right? But it's been unseasonably hot, so it's been in the 80s and everything. I don't think it was like that on Saturday, but I had a longer jacket, like sweatshirt kind of jacket on. But that was mainly to hide the flask in my pocket, and so I was a little bit sweaty at some points, but it definitely kept me from getting dirtier than I would have because, man, Saturday we just stood up by the fence and just let her rip all night long.
Seriously,
and, just sat there and ate dirt, and it was pretty incredible. So it was good, clean racing. Got pretty tight there at the end, but to watch Brad Sweet go out there and win, that was pretty cool.
It was, yeah. And Ricky Thornton Jr. getting a win as well, and just in spectacular fashion, just ripping the fence and just hitting his mark the exact same way every single time. And also, it was a real treat to watch Bobby Pierce, even though he wasn't really all that fast. Just he ripped the fence for the entirety of
that's
both
great.
features, except for the 2 laps where I tried to get my phone out to take a video of him doing it. Then he decided to bottom feed after that. So fuck you, Bobby Pierce.
Right.
Speaking of Bobby Pierce, I think that's where we met up on Saturday. By the grace of God, Jay got a text off to me saying he was down in the late model pit, so I went down there and met him. Linked up with Kyle Armstrong. We had a nice little stroll down there, drank a little whiskey, and then came back up top to watch the show. Nothing.
I did not have a pass to the SRI tent, but thankfully I work for Racing America, and I was like, hey, yeah, because we got in this kind of like situation where Kyle didn't have any left because, like Rob said before, everybody and his brother was hitting him up. So we walked up there, and I was just gonna stand along the fence somewhere, go up on the hill somewhere. And I was like, well, let me see, because I know SRI is a great partner of ours at Racing America, so I was able to get in there thanks to that. So we shotgunned the beer, ate some hot dogs, and
Yep.
drinks for coffee.
Yeah, definitely meant to send you guys a video of Jay and I shotgunning a beer, but I didn't press record until after it was over.
Oh, nice. I was wondering about that.
Maybe we'll post. Maybe we'll post that one on the internet because it's just me giggling with beer coming out of both sides of my mouth like some kind of mutant.
That's great.
But yeah, great racing despite how dusty the track was, and that is one plus and minus I will both give to the World of Outlaws and the Charlotte dirt track is just the amount of time it took to reset the track between features. I appreciate the fact that they did it, but my God, and again, as somebody who had access to hospitality, it was nice. I could go get a beer, go get another hot dog out of the SRI tent, wander the pits a little bit, just find my own way. But if you're sitting up in the grandstands, that must have been fucking brutal, especially in the cold.
Yeah, it gets pretty bad up there. This was the first time I had been in the pits or at the hospitality side at the Charlotte dirt track. But I was telling Rob this, when I first moved to Charlotte, and this was like 02, 03. I took a whole group of my fellow students from the college here in town, and none of them had really been to a dirt track before. None of them had really been to a race before, and I made sure that we got tickets outside of turn 4, as far back in turn 4 that we could. I was like, all right, so these first couple laps, I want you to watch the last car. Don't take your eyes off the last car. Don't move your head till the last car goes past. And they were like, why? And I was like, nah, it's all good. You'll figure it out. And they're all trying to watch that last car as all the dirt hits them in the face. It was one of the small joys in life that you can take non-racing fans to the racetrack and mess with them a little bit here and there. Yeah.
But yeah, what happened after the race? Again, the place clears out so quickly. Nobody was there to watch Brad Sweet get his trophy.
We got out of there pretty quick.
It was
hung
just
out in the garage.
Yeah, you, me, and Andy standing up there, and Kyle shooting.
Yeah, shout out to Kyle. That was really. I knew I'd been at your show at the Beaver before, but really the first time I had hung out with Kyle, and just a really cool dude, and look forward to sharing more beers and watching more races with him in the future.
Hell yeah! But yeah, we walked out of the garage, ended up at Ricky Thornton's hauler, watched them load that car up. Shot the shit with Kevin Rumley actually for a little bit, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Very unexpected, but he's a nice dude. We talked about porta potties for a little while and took off. So then I think we closed out the night by having a beer at the Christmas tree down at the Four Wide Drags.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, we walked around the drags a little bit, and because where we were parked, you could kind of walk. I was like, man, it'd be really easy to take a car down here right now, but but I like working in NASCAR. I like my job.
Yeah. That's a good way to lose it real fast. Yeah.
Hey, bud, look, it's just that's when you try and coax somebody else into doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch you do it. I'll keep lookout.
But yeah, it was honestly a great weekend. There's a reason why I go to the World Finals every year. I know a lot of people bitch about it. There's a lot of actual problems with the track and the way that things go down there, but honestly, so many cool people are there. I am missing about 80% of what happened in recounting this, but I'm telling you, if you can make it, it is worth it. Even if you are freezing your ass off up in the grandstands, it is a great show. And when else are you going to see that level of... we didn't even talk about the fucking big block modifieds.
Oh, yeah.
That's its own thing.
Yeah, those things are rad.
And then, just Matt Shepard out there putting on a clinic. Yeah, definitely cool shit. So I recommend going down there. And again, as always, I cannot stress to you, the pro move is just to buy a pit pass. Fuck those grandstand tickets, buddy. Who cares?
That's really the way to do it.
Bring a lawn chair in, park it up in turn 4. Meet Kyle Armstrong, get his number from me, bother him the whole week leading into the World Finals. He doesn't care. He loves it.
So I do have to say, this was it wasn't just dirt racing this weekend. There was some pretty good asphalt.
Yeah, the car store was on Saturday. That's right.
Well, there was the car store, and then there was the All-American 400. So you had the ASA Stars National Tour.
Oh, that's right, with that big old wreck.
Yeah, so they had... I've learned a lot about the Stars Tour. That everybody's so focused on the Cars Tour because, obviously Dale Jr. is involved in it. Kevin Harvick's involved in it. There's a lot of big names involved in it. But on the Racing America side, we cover the ASA Stars National Tour. We broadcast all their races on pay-per-view. And there's just been some really, really good races this year.
The All-American is a top level late model race. Like, that is
100%. This one, I don't think lived up necessarily to that.
It's a little more truck series than.
My understanding was there was some contact with Cole Butcher. It kind of hurt Cole's car to the point where he leaked a lot of fluid all over the car, or all over the track, and then the entire front of the field basically drove into the turn 1, turn 2 wall. So a little bit of a shit show there, but it came down to, I think Ty Majeski's car was completely destroyed, but he was able to finish the race and win the championship, right? So yeah, and then the car store, they were, I think, at Caraway for the north-south shootout, and I'm pretty sure the Quapple brothers took both championships there in the pro and super late models. No fights this weekend, which is good. So
that is good. It's always good.
Yeah.
Shout out to photographer extraordinaire Blake Harris, who I know was trying to be at the World Finals. I think he was, but I didn't get a chance to link up with him. He's always such a cool dude to hang out with, but he was taking photos of the cars tour, so just want to say hi to him.
I got to give a shout out to my buddy, my man Gavin Bochelle. We got a program tonight. I don't know when this is going to air, but it's Thursday, November 9th. But we've got a premiere of On the Rise on MAV TV, which is an hour-long program, kind of like diving into Gavin, kind of what he does, at the racetrack, away from the racetrack. You see him working out with Josh Wise at the Team Chevy Center.
That's something I didn't realize about
Christopher
him.
Bell. Yeah.
Was the workout routine he's in, and just like how, like his path to wherever he's going, and how serious that is, and how diverse it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got to remember the kid's like a sophomore in high school, and
it's
his parents
crazy.
Still send him to high school. Like, he's not homeschooled. He's not one of these kids where like the parents sit there and teach him all day, and he has a tutor. Like, they want him to have this whole high school experience. So he goes to Lake Norman High School and but works out 4 to 5 times a week at the Team Chevy Center over there in the Hendrick compound, or on their complex. And so you get to see some of that. He actually gets to win at Talladega in one of Christopher Bell's sprint cars. So it's a really cool program. It'll be on MAV TV at 10 o'clock tonight. And I think it'll be available kind of like after that on their website and things like that. So just really excited about kind of bringing more awareness to even more short track guys. And
hell yeah.
Even if they do make mistakes and crash somebody on the last lap every once in a while.
It happens.
It happens.
Well, you've been working with Gavin for a little bit, right?
Yeah, so I got to know Gavin probably when he was about 12 years old. When I was at Motorsport Games, we were sponsoring him on the micro side. So when he was out at Millbridge, when he was running the Tulsa Shootout, those kinds of things. And it's kind of morphed from there, and as Gavin's gotten older and I have left Motorsport Games, it's kind of gotten more into a kind of consultant / manager / kind of just, hey, I'm here to help you learn a few things from what I've learned over the years. These guys can teach you how to drive a car into the corner. They can teach you how to work out. I can teach you how to answer questions from, media members, or what to post on social media, what not to like on social media, those things that, a 15-year-old kid doesn't think about, right? So,
Yeah.
but are essential.
Or a 25-year-old man.
Right, exactly. So
He needed
when those things happen, I'm usually the first person to text him and his dad and say, hey, like, this is why you do what you do, But yeah, no, it's been great to see him kind of grow and progress. He's the same age as my daughter, so that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I have not been there for one of his wins, his big wins yet. I've seen him win at Millbridge a couple times, but I was supposed to go to the Talladega race and ended up not going to that, and he ended up winning there. So we were down to Five Flags earlier this year, and he had a fast car, but Ended up getting wrecked by Augie Grill, so that was a tough one, but made for good content, right? So yeah, looking forward to that. So check it out if you have the chance, and should be some pretty good content.
That's awesome. Speaking of actual children, we talked about Beckham Malone last week, that 11-year-old who won the crate late model race. Did I tell you all I got to meet him?
I think you mentioned something about it.
So Friday night, we're in the SRI hospitality booth or whatever, drinking a beer, and then I'm standing there with Kyle talking to this guy, and there's a kid next to him. And then Kyle's like, this is the boy I was telling you about. And I look down, and he's literally like up to like my belt line almost. Literal child. And I kind of put it together. I was like, oh my God, that kid just won that late model race. And sure enough, it's one thing to like see the age like on a screen or have someone say it, and watch the accomplishment, but to stand next to an actual child who can wheel a race car better than I could ever imagine is a pretty humbling experience. So
yeah, it's wild.
It's pretty crazy. And his dad's so fucking proud too. It's awesome to see him out there.
You can buy cigarettes though, so that's cool.
Yeah. That's what I told him. Yeah. Watch me drink this beer, brother.
I think I was telling Rob this weekend. Like, the first time I went to the Chili Bowl, like, Gavin took me out to the rowdy section. So I have this, like, 13, 14-year-old, right? Like, I have this, like, 13, 14-year-old kid who's the same age as my kid leading me up to this section of just, like, DARFs and race fans that are just, like, having a hell of a time. And I was like, something feels weird about this, right? Like,
oh, man. Hang on a second here. Just pouring myself another shot of Four Roses here since I don't have to work tomorrow.
There you go. Oh, yeah. Again, so one thing that happened today was the Randy Dorton Engine Builder Showdown at Hendrick Motorsports. Yeah. So that's a cool event. The guy who won that. So what they do for that is they actually pair up one of the Hendrick Motorsports engine builders. So these guys are building, the race car engines, sports car engines, those kinds of things, and they team them up with one of the Hendrick Cars technicians who's an engine builder. So they're building the engines and working on the engines at Hendrick's dealerships. So the guy who won today, I think, won his 6th title, which is kind of crazy. If you get a chance to watch any of these, it basically looks like any NHRA event that you've ever been to, because these guys are just thrashing on putting these motors together in a certain amount of time. But that's super cool to see some of the guys and gals who are not always in the spotlight of the sport get to go out there and race for trophies and have a competition, and that's always cool to see.
Yeah,
that's fucking awesome.
Appreciated that they make like a big deal out of it, and they put it on air, and
yeah, you can also watch that on Racing America.
There you go.
That's a free one. No subscription required. You can watch it on there. Not a paid plug.
Here I was about to start talking about flow racing. So these guys are so tired of me talking about flow racing.
Rob's definitely paid by flow racing. He just won't admit it.
I can tell you, I am paid by Racing America, but they are not paying me to promote that.
Not on this show. They don't want.
Not on this show. No.
But speaking of flow racing, there is racing on this weekend if you got the itch. There's no question about that. I think we said this earlier, but the Governor's Cup down in Florida, USAC and Bakersfield. I think that's actually next week on Tuesday. The big California swing is starting to happen. Of course, the Florence 400 is next weekend. Want to watch Dale Jr. race a late model. That's always fun. So racing is not over. Of course, late models are supposed to be at Sonoya, but it got rained out, so it is what it is. But there's plenty of racing pretty much all the way up until Daytona, I would say. Maybe there's a little break in the end of February or middle of February, something like that. But, if you got $160 to spare, I'd recommend putting it on Flow Racing. Or I know Racing America's got some coverage, too. Of course, Snowball Derby's coming up. That's a big deal. So,
yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and give a plug for Racing America, but I will say, look, we've got a lot of series out there. We show Thompson, I think we have Citrus this weekend down in Florida. We have a lot of subscriber events, every weekend. Sometimes we'll have, anywhere from 1 to 2 events to over 10 races all weekend long. So we do have the pay-per-view ones, which are bigger events, the Snowball Derbies, the Stars Tour was pay-per-view as well. But if you're a subscriber, you get a discount on it. And you also get, you want to go back and watch old Snowball Derbies or old All-American 400s, or, you didn't get a chance to watch a lot of the stuff this year. You have that history as well. So, it's a good deal. I love Flow. I have Flow as well. I love their dirt coverage. I love the fact that they have wrestling on there as well.
They do, yeah. Rodeo too. A little bit of rodeo on there.
Yeah, it's a great platform, but I'd like to see them get a little fewer races, and maybe Racing America pick up a few more. Just
enough.
Selfishly.
all that said, there has never been a better time to be a short track racing fan in the United States, especially if you don't live near one, because it's happening everywhere. It is relatively affordable now, and if you can't afford some things, you can certainly afford others. And there's again, no better time to dig in than now during the off season, because it really doesn't stop. We'll be at the Dome at Gateway pretty soon, and I'm sure we'll talk about that on this show, which, by the way, I don't think we're taking a break at all. We might pause for Christmas or something like that, but, this is not our last episode of the year by any means. We're going to keep doing this all the way through the off-season. I know Brian's got some monster trucks to talk about. I think Brian actually died.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm barely here.
He's back.
You just poke him with a stick every once in a while. Make sure he's all right.
Hey, before I pass out, let me just ask this question, because it's on everybody's mind. Which one of the stuffed bears in Pop Pop's museum was your favorite?
Oh, that's a good. Do you have a favorite stuffed animal? Yeah.
Oh, man. I like the polar bear. The polar bear is probably one of my favorites in there.
Popular answer, and a good one at that.
Yeah.
I really
so we
enjoy
had
the wolf attacking the other wolf. It's
yeah, I do like the fact that there's action scenes in there. I think they did a good job of that. But we had this picture of when Pop Pop actually shot that polar bear, and we had to use it for something, and I remember having to Photoshop out blood on the snow,
of course,
because that was a little bit too much. Not the fact that he was there with a dead polar bear, but the fact that the polar bear was bleeding out of mouth onto the snow.
What's the problem?
We had to clean that up a little bit. Yeah.
That's fucking
definitely
good.
If you're in the RCR, on the RCR campus in the RCR museum, be prepared to go through the kill hall.
Yeah, a lot of people are there.
you have to go through it to get to the rest of it.
True Love, didn't some Meemaw have a heart attack in there or something like that?
Well, I met some guys there who their podcast, Left Turn Cult. He said that he was in the stuffed bear room, and he was just kind of joking around, and he kept saying, "Man, Childress is a mass murderer," and he said it several times, and there was some peepaw in there who eventually got very upset about that. He's like, he's making fun of Richard. So,
People get tore up about it, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's a Bass Pro Shops Plus in there for sure. So,
Well, and a lot of the, I will say, a lot of the cool stuff in there is from the Congressional Sportsman Foundation or the National Wild Turkey Foundation or conservation efforts. So
it's definitely cool.
I don't hunt. I fish very poorly, but I love the outdoors. And that was always cool to be around some place that had Johnny Morris walking around. There were other drawbacks from obviously working for RC when, not to get into politics, but when the Trump showed up, that was always awkward. But when you're sitting in the RCR marketing bus and Richard and Johnny just drove Dale's last wing car around Talladega, and they're in their fire suits and giddy, those are the moments where you're this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, hell yeah. We don't want to take up too much more of your time, Jay, so I think we'll probably get out of here. I think we got a show here. There's no video of the week this week, but again, I do recommend going and checking out the Found Footage Festival collaboration that Brian did with them last week. We'll put a link up for that in the show notes for you. That's really fucking cool that Brian got to do that. And if you happen to be listening to the show because of that, Brian usually talks more, but he is dead at this point. So
Yep, I'm dead, folks. Sorry.
We'll have an AI version of him to take over next week, and it'll be back to normal. But
We're going to stuff him and put him in Pop's spare room.
it's true.
There you go. I know a guy. Brian, I gotta give you a shout out for getting that shirt to Dale Jr. and talking about that stuff. That was super cool to see.
Oh yeah, that was cool. I did some stuff this year. I got some boxes checked. Now I need to get in that fucking stick car at Stafford and put it in the fucking wall.
Yeah.
That's the next goal.
last will and testament.
Right?
Well, before we
one
get
thing.
out, go ahead.
Sorry, I got one last thing. North Wilkesboro was repaved this week too.
That's right.
So that's a little bit of news. First time that surface has been repaved since I guess before 96.
Pretty
Right?
incredible. Pretty incredible that Fontana is in the process of literally being torn down and North Wilkesboro is being repaved.
Wild times.
That's some shit.
Let me get my hydrogen powered NASCAR and drive out of here, right?
Nothing but vapor, baby.
Oh, God.
Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on the show. And again, I know you probably got a lot to plug. I know you put a second edition of your book out, Start Your Engines, famous first in the history of NASCAR. It's a good book, and I recommend y'all check it out. I'm sure you can buy that anywhere on the internet. You can find books, but if there's a particular place to buy it that Jay wants you to buy it from, I'm sure he'll tell you right now. So.
Yeah, just Amazon does a trick. All money's good money, right?
There you go.
But it's good. No, it's kind of, I wrote it so that even if you're not a NASCAR fan, especially if you're not a NASCAR fan, this is something that should be pretty easy to read. So definitely check it out. I'm on social, JaywPennell at JW Pennell. So just check me out, and if you see me at racetrack, look for the guy with a mustache and come harass me.
Hell yeah. Brian, you can buy t-shirts from him at Speedway TSJ on Etsy.
Listen. There's been enough of these fucking episodes. I'm true loving it this week. Figure it out.
Trying to help this man. Good Lord.
If he doesn't have to do it, then I don't have to do it. It's your turn, Rob.
You can find me at Snake Mountain True Love on Instagram. And on Etsy as well.
Send lots of DMs.
Lots of DMs.
I think my band is done for the year. So you can look up These Wild Plains, though. Someone's got to listen to our shit.
They're good stuff. Go see them live if you can.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll be back on the road in March, and we're actually recording a bunch of new stuff in a couple of weeks here. Also, a quick shout out to my boys in a band called Som. They might actually be coming over to my house in a few minutes here. They're out on tour with Catatonia right now, which is a sick progressive metal band. If you're into that kind of thing, melodic sad boy shit. That's what Catatonia does, and that's what Som does better, in my opinion. But they're all over the place. They're playing Hartford tonight, New York tomorrow night. They'll be all over the place. So keep an eye out on that tour. But I just want to give a shout out to them since they're a killer band and I love them very much. So yeah, Som, S-O-M. Look them up on Instagram if you like heavy shit. That's
Whoops. Sorry, that was audible.
like pitchfork.com over here. Oh, hell. Well, again, thanks again, Jay, for coming on the show. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Jay.
Hopefully it's not the last time.
Jay.
You made us legitimate for once. And
I don't know about all that.
First time and the last time.
Hey, yeah, and my couch is always welcome to all of y'all.
Yeah, Jay has saved my ass more times than not. That couch, I should be paying rent over there as much as I slept on that couch.
Well, say hi to Eleanor for me, bud. And then
Will do.
We'll see y'all, the listeners, next week.